History has secrets. Some are so strange and so hard to solve that people have tried for hundreds of years to figure them out. Nobody has gotten the answer yet. These aren't made-up stories. Real people experienced these events. Real historians and archaeologists have studied them. They've looked at evidence, old records, and physical proof. Yet, even with all that information, these mysteries still don't make sense. Tonight, we're going to explore 5 of the most shocking mysteries in history. Events that left people confused, questions that have no clear answers, stories that still puzzle us today. Are you ready to find out what really happened? Our journey begins in 1936, in the scorching desert outside Baghdad. Workers excavating ancient ruins made a discovery that would challenge everything we thought we knew about ancient technology. They found clay jars, ordinary clay jars from nearly 2,000 years ago. But these jars were anything but ordinary. Inside each one, archaeologists discovered a copper cylinder. Inside that cylinder, an iron rod, the entire apparatus sealed with asphalt. When they examined the jars more closely, they found residue, acidic substances, vinegar, perhaps wine. Here's where it gets unsettling. When modern scientists reconstructed these devices and filled them with acidic liquid, something impossible happened. They produced electricity, an actual electrical current, generated by artifacts from 150 to 250 BC. Think about that for a moment. The ancient Parthians living over 2 millennia ago may have harnessed electricity. But here's the truly disturbing part. We have absolutely no records explaining what they used it for. No inscriptions, no texts, no clues whatsoever. Were they electroplating jewelry, treating pain? Or did they possess knowledge of electricity that humanity wouldn't rediscover for another 2,000 years? Multiple similar artifacts have been found in the same region, suggesting this wasn't just one person's experiment. This was something they understood, something they built repeatedly. The ancients left us their batteries, but they took the instruction manual to their graves. Now we move forward in time, to a hot July day in 1518, in the city of Strasbourg. A woman steps into the street. Her name is Frau Trophäa, and she begins to dance. Not a joyful dance, not a celebration. She dances with a desperation that chills the blood. Her feet move against her will. Her body convulses in rhythm, and she cannot stop. Hour after hour, through the scorching afternoon, into the darkness of night. The next morning, she's still dancing. Within a week, dozens have joined her, not by choice. Something has seized them, something that medical science cannot explain. They dance until they collapse. They dance until their feet bleed. They dance as if possessed by an invisible force. The municipal authorities documented everything. Within weeks, hundreds were afflicted. The doctors examined them, ruled out supernatural causes, and insisted this must be a physical illness. But they had no cure, no treatment, no explanation. Here's the most disturbing detail. The authorities' solution was to build stages. They hired musicians. They believed the victims needed to dance it out, as if this were simply excess energy that needed release. But people died from exhaustion, from heart failure, from stroke. For an entire month, the city of Strasbourg became a nightmare of involuntary movement. People danced until they died, and then, as mysteriously as it began, it stopped. The dancing plague has never been adequately explained. The region was suffering from famine and disease. Yes, but why dancing? Why this specific horrifying compulsion? And most chilling of all, nothing like this on this scale has ever happened again. What seized those people in 1518? What invisible force commanded their bodies? We simply don't know. In a vault at Yale University's Bonnecke Library, there sits a book that nobody can read. It's called the Voynich Manuscript, and it is perhaps the most mysterious document ever created. Carbon dating confirms it was made between 1404 and 1438. The ink, the parchment, everything confirms its medieval origin. It contains 240 pages filled with text in a script that matches no known language on Earth. But it's not just meaningless scribbles. Statistical analysis proves the text follows natural language patterns. It has structure, grammar, syntax. Someone, 600 years ago, wrote a book in a language that died with them. The illustrations make it even more unsettling. Pages upon pages of plants that botanists cannot identify. Are they extinct species, imaginary, from somewhere we've never been? Astronomical charts showing zodiac symbols arranged in ways we don't understand. Human figures, naked, sitting in strange baths connected by elaborate tubes, and complex fold-out pages that hint at knowledge beyond our comprehension. The manuscript passed through the hands of alchemists and Jesuit scholars. In 1912, book dealer Wilfred Voynich brought it to public attention. Since then, the world's best cryptographers have attacked it. World War II, codebreakers tried and failed. Computer algorithms have been unleashed upon it. Nothing works. Every attempt at decryption has led nowhere. Some claim it's an elaborate hoax, but the statistical patterns argue otherwise. Someone knew this language. Someone understood these symbols. 600 years ago, someone possessed knowledge that we cannot access. The Voynich manuscript sits in its vault, keeping its secrets. A book full of information that humanity cannot read. What knowledge did we lose? What did they know that we don't? Around 1200 BC, civilization ended. Not slowly, not gradually. Within a single human lifetime, the greatest empires of the ancient world collapsed into ruin and ash. The mighty Hittite Empire, which had stood for centuries, vanished. The Mycenaean Greeks, the heroes of legend, fell into darkness. The Minoans, the Canaanites, kingdoms across Anatolia and the Levant, all destroyed or abandoned within decades. Archaeological evidence shows layer upon layer of destruction. Cities burned. Populations disappeared. Writing systems like Linear B vanished completely, not to be seen again for hundreds of years. Trade networks that had connected the Mediterranean world for generations simply stopped functioning. Egypt, the most powerful kingdom of the ancient world, barely survived. Their records speak of invasions by mysterious sea peoples. But we don't know who these invaders were or where they came from. Climate data reveals a period of severe drought and famine. Bronze production collapsed as access to tin, essential for making the alloy, became impossible. Archaeological surveys show populations declining sharply across entire regions. But here's what makes this truly terrifying. We don't know what happened. Was it climate change, invasion, economic collapse, earthquake storms, all of the above, something else entirely? Within a generation, humanity lost centuries of accumulated knowledge. The Greek Dark Ages began, a period where even the art of writing was forgotten. Recovery took hundreds of years. Think about that. Imagine if our entire civilization, our cities, our technology, our knowledge, simply collapsed within your lifetime. Imagine if everything we've built disappeared, and future archaeologists could only find layers of ash and abandoned ruins. That's what happened in the 1200 BC. The Bronze Age world fell apart, and we still don't fully understand why. But of all history's mysteries, one stands above the rest in its sheer, inexplicable horror. In 1587, 115 English colonists, men, women, and children, established a settlement on Roanoke Island. It was England's first attempt at a permanent colony in North America. The governor, John White, sailed back to England for supplies, planning to return within months. But war broke out between England and Spain. 3 years passed before White could return. When he finally reached Roanoke in 1590, he found nothing. Not bodies, not graves, not signs of struggle or violence. The entire colony had simply vanished. The houses had been deliberately dismantled. The fort was taken apart. Everything removed with care, as if they'd planned to leave. But where did they go? The only clue: the word Croatoan carved into a wooden post. On a nearby tree, the letters CRO. The colonists had agreed that if they left under distress, they would carve a Maltese cross as a warning. No cross was found. White tried to search for them, but bad weather and ship damage forced him to abandon the effort. He never saw his daughter, his granddaughter, or any of the colonists again. To this day, no confirmed archaeological evidence of the Roanoke colonists has ever been found. 115 people walked off Roanoke Island and disappeared from history. Did they join the Croatoan tribe? Were they killed? Did they travel inland and perish? Or did something else happen? Something we cannot imagine. 5 mysteries. 5 questions without answers. The Baghdad battery that shouldn't exist. The dancing plague that defied explanation. The Voynich manuscript that nobody can read. The Bronze Age collapse that destroyed civilization. And the Roanoke colony that vanished without a trace. These are not legends. These are documented historical events. Real people lived through these mysteries and died with their secrets. History has many answers, but sometimes it only has questions. And the questions that remain unanswered are the ones that haunt us most.